Local Justice, presented by Elrod Pope Law Firm, serving our community since 1980. Here's your host, attorney Ben Leader.
Welcome to Local Justice. I'm Ben Leader, and today I'm honored to be sitting here with Elrod Pope's newest attorney, Preston Pope. Preston, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
This is Preston. He is the newest attorney at our law firm, and he's somebody that the York County community will probably be seeing a lot more of for decades to come. He's a Rock Hill native, a graduate of the University of South Carolina School of Law, and he recently just completed a year-long clerkship with the Honorable Judge William McKinnon here in York County before joining our firm a few months ago. What makes this especially meaningful to me and to our firm and to the community is that Preston's continuing a long line of service. His grandfather was a sheriff here in York County. His dad, Tommy Pope, has been a pillar of the legal community in our law firm for many years. And Preston is now continuing that legacy as the next generation and his family to serve this community. We're going to give you a chance today to get to know a little bit about Preston, who he is, why he chose to come back home, and what the future of justice looks like here in York County. So again, Preston, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Let's dive right in and learn a little bit about your story before we start getting into the clerkship and the courtroom,
Sure.
Because you did grow up here and you chose to come back here and start your career here. And I'd love to hear, a little bit about your beginning growing up in Rock Hill. When did you first start to sense that law was something that you were interested in?
Whenever people ask me this, I always say that I can't really pinpoint an exact time when I knew that it's something that I wanted to do. But, since probably 12 or 13 years old, seeing my dad and the way that he interacted with the community and the way that he was able to help people, I just knew since I was around 12 years old that this is something that I certainly wanted to do. And, I kind of just ran with it, and, every step of the way, it just felt right. So, and now I'm here. So it's been a heck of a journey.
That's great. And your dad, Tommy, who's a law partner of mine, a mentor of mine, and very well known in this community, obviously made headways onto the scene in the mid-90s when the Susan Smith case went to trial. And you were actually born a few years after that. I'm showing my age here, but you were born a few years after the Susan Smith case, but right in the middle of really the media storm that was surrounding your dad. And he was traveling all over the country, doing a lot of shows, Oprah, Larry King, things like that. And so that was probably some of your earliest childhood memories.
I didn't really understand it whenever I was younger. There was a couple times where I was able to go with him to Atlanta, or just studios around where he would be appearing on air and talking about it, and I didn't really understand. But something I was able to understand at a young age was how he treated people, even though, in a way, people were kind of looking to him as a figure, an icon. They were looking up to him, but he never made himself, greater than anybody else. And I always was able to realize that, and I respected that.
Absolutely. And your grandfather, Elrod, was a sheriff here that was very well known in the community, and I know he shaped a lot of Tommy's views on justice. And what's it like coming into the third generation of service?
Yeah, my grandfather passed away before I was really able to know him. But the stories that I've heard, I've heard so many stories about Elrod and all the different things that he did for the community, and that kind of just backed my passion to want to serve York County and serve our community.
That's great. And when you look at the legal profession, especially the world of personal injury law and civil justice, what does that mean to you personally? What does justice mean?
It kind of ties back into what I was talking about earlier whenever I saw the way that my dad cared about the community. Being able to help people who are truly in a place that, they feel helpless and they're at their lowest, and being able to help them get to a place where they're better than when I found them. I feel like that is certainly my calling, and I feel like that is one of the most, the greatest benefits of being an attorney is being able to help people in that way.
Well, you come from a long line of service like we talked about, and we're looking forward to seeing you, get to help many people in this community for many years to come. And just to briefly touch on your education, let's talk about your service with the Guard as well as South Carolina.
Sure. So whenever I was 16, my older brother Jacob, I think he was either 17 or 18 at the time, just about to graduate high school. And he just came to me and told me one day, hey, I think I'm going to enlist in the National Guard. I'm going to go to basic training in Texas. You might not see me for a while, but I'm doing it for all these reasons. Plus, I think that the 169th Fighter Wing and the South Carolina National Guard is just a fantastic fighter wing. And a year later, I gave it some thought, and I spoke to his recruiter, and I decided it's something that I wanted to do. So at 17, right before graduating high school, I enlisted with the 169th Fighter Wing. I went to Lackland Air Force Base in Texas, went to basic training there, and then did follow-up training in Shepherd Air Force Base in Wichita Falls, Texas, and then hot training in New Mexico, where I learned how to work on live fighter jets. So, very different than law, but it's something that I really enjoyed.
So while most people were in the library during law school, studying Constitution law or evidence, you were out working on fighter jets.
Yeah, and that's another thing I didn't realize about the 169th and the National Guard. I always thought that it was like, you kind of show up on the weekends, they'll fly some jets here and there. No, they're flying all the time. It was a very demanding job. But I enjoyed it. It did cut into some of my reading in law school, but not too much, and I made up for it, on some late nights. But it was definitely a very good experience.
Well, you've got a great foundation between your education, your parents. I know Kim and Tommy are great people and steered you in the right direction along the way. And want to dive into the next segment of your clerkship and talk a lot more about that.
Sure.
So we'll be right back in just a moment after a quick break from our sponsors. Thank you all for tuning in to Local Justice. We'll see you shortly.
As soon as I contacted Elrod Pope, they handled everything. Without Elrod Pope's help, I'd have been paying hospital bills for years to come. Elrod Pope just took the stress and they put it on their table and took it off mine.
Coming to Elrod Pope, I didn't have to worry about anything. Everything was taken care of. It put me in a real calm state because I had someone on my side. I knew that I was in the right hands. It felt great.
We know the type. You like to start early, finish late, make lemon squares, and make payments to the college fund from anywhere in the house. We know you rely on Comporium for the things you rely on most, like a view of the backyard. That's just a bunny, and hundreds of channels to watch, whenever you want. So you may think of us as just your internet company, but we're more like the I didn't know they could do all that company. Comporium, always ready.
Coke Zero is now Coke Zero Sugar, with great Coke taste. Some people were excited to hear the news, some were skeptical. So we're not gonna have the star of the show you're watching come out and say, "You'll love it." No special jingle written by this week's hottest pop star. No famous internet celebs who happen to be holding the label just so. Okay, maybe just one little pour shot. The only thing that will make you believe Coke Zero Sugar has great Coke taste is trying it yourself. Ice cold Coke Zero Sugar. Try one today.
Being there for someone in their time of need is what Green Funeral Home has done compassionately for 4 generations. It's a privilege we take very seriously.
We believe each life should be honored and remembered by family and friends. Whether you choose traditional burial in our chapel or another venue, or cremation provided by our on-site crematory, we will help guide you through each step to ensure your needs are met.
We are also available to discuss pre-planning. Peace of mind that you have helped your loved one by making those difficult decisions.
When the need arises, our family is here for your family.
Founders Federal Credit Union means banking made for you. The on the go, the pick up and go, and the oh, I want to go. Because at Founders, we give you the financial tools that make every dollar work for you. For the little things to the big things. For your future and your peace of mind. We'll always stay grounded in our roots, but reaching beyond what you'd expect is where we'll always go. Find out what our members already know and enjoy a new way to bank. Relax, you're with Founders.
Live Strong at the YMCA is a lifesaver for so many people.
I love Live Strong because you meet so many people, you learn how strong you can be physically and mentally.
The camaraderie and the closeness that you feel and come together as a group is just amazing.
We meet them where they are, and we work with them to help them get stronger.
At the YMCA of Upper Palmetto, we are proud to offer our community the support of the Live Strong program to all cancer survivors. For more information, visit your local branch.
Welcome back to Local Justice. I'm your host, Attorney Ben Leader, and I'm here with Preston Pope, the newest attorney at Elrod Pope Law Firm, who I'm excited to get to introduce to everybody and allow our viewers to get to know a little better. We've talked a little bit about Preston's upbringing in the house with his father, Tommy Pope, his mom, Kim, his service in the Guard, as well as his education at South Carolina, undergrad and law school. And now we're going to talk about the next phase of his life, where he spent the last year completing a clerkship with the 16th Judicial Circuit, Judge William McKinnon here in York County. And I know a lot of people have heard me talk about the word clerkship, and I'm a huge proponent of clerkships, but I think very few of our viewers really understand what that means or how valuable it is in shaping a young lawyer's career. So let's start by just explaining kind of in layman's terms, what a clerkship is and what do you actually do day to day as a law clerk?
Sure. So every judge has one law clerk, and it's typically an attorney that's transitioning from law school to becoming a licensed attorney. And in most cases, they'll be licensed a couple months after beginning their clerkship. And what you do, you really, in simple terms, you do whatever the judge asks you to do, but lots of times that's you're doing legal research on perhaps nuanced questions of law. You're helping do administrative tasks such as scheduling hearings or drafting forms for the court, things of that nature. You're basically just the judge's right-hand man, and you help him or her do whatever they're trying to do on a daily basis. So large grab bag of things.
That's right, and you're spending basically all day, every day, with the same judge for the course of a year. And that could include being here in York County or traveling, amongst the different circuits around the state.
Yeah. They can really send you wherever, and you're not confined to one type of term of court, meaning, 1 week you might hear criminal pleadings, another week you might have a civil trial. So you really get to see a little bit of everything, and being able to see that from, the judicial branch side, working beneath a judge, it was an invaluable experience.
That's great. And my next question was going to be, the type of matters that you get to see. And one of the things I loved about clerking when I was with Judge Hayes here, the late Judge Hayes, a fantastic man, was that we did get to see a little bit of everything. And, I kind of knew what I wanted to do, but I wasn't sure. And, getting to see criminal trials, getting to see civil trials, getting to see, non-jury cases versus jury cases, it really gives you a wide array of the law, as well as the lawyers. I got to see a lot of good lawyers, some not so good lawyers, kind of learn what to do and what not to do.
Certainly, yeah. I think that is probably the largest benefit that you receive from clerking, is just being able to see, one of every type of proceeding. Not only does it allow you to, narrow down to what kind of law you would like to practice, it also allows you to see, how to handle yourself or hold yourself in court, certain strategies that might be effective, certain other strategies that you shouldn't go to. You just get to see a little bit of everything, and that is, I think, is a very, very beneficial thing.
That's right. You get to make connections all over the state, with lawyers that are looking to have hearings scheduled with the judge, and you're kind of the gatekeeper for the judge in a lot of ways.
Yes. That was one of my favorite parts, was just, communicating with attorneys around the state and getting to know people that otherwise I probably wouldn't really run into. Met a lot of very great people and realized that we have a great bar here in South Carolina.
And you really build a special bond with the judge you clerk for too. You spend so much time together in a year, and you get to learn so much from them and about how they think about things and analyze things, and it's really just a unique experience is the best way I know to describe it.
It is, and I might be a little biased, but I think that Judge McKinnon is one of the best judges that we have. He's fantastic. It was very beneficial to be able to work under somebody that was that brilliant, and seeing the way that he approached things really was enlightening.
Absolutely. He's a great judge. In South Carolina, we're very blessed to have some really good judges, especially here in York County.
Oh, certainly. And that's another thing that I realized while clerking. We really do have some fantastic judges across the state. There's no judge that I can point to and say, oh, I don't want to appear in front of them. I think that we have really fantastic judges.
And being from North Carolina and living there, I can tell you that that is not always the case. North Carolina's system's set up very differently, and in my opinion, they do not have nearly the caliber of judges we have in South Carolina. So,
yeah.
What do you think was the biggest surprise to you when you go from law school, the classroom setting, what you think a courtroom's like, to actually being on the bench, sitting next to the judge and seeing it play out in real life?
I think one of the biggest surprises was, when you're in law school, you always say, the professors are just throwing these wild fact patterns at us that could never happen. They're just way too complex and complicated. The odds of these facts all coming together at once, this will never happen. I quickly learned that things are often complex, that, you'll get thrown a set of facts that you go, wow, this sounds like a law school exam. And being able to see that from a law clerk perspective and seeing how judges tackle those problems, I think was incredibly beneficial.
And if you had to put into words, one of the biggest lessons you learned throughout the clerkship, or, life lessons in general, what would that be?
I would say probably the biggest lesson it was probably to make sure that you don't overlook anything, because oftentimes these cases have, a lot of different variables, and they can be very complex, and it's important to dig down into the small details of everything, so that way you're never surprised by anything on the back end.
That's right. Planning every possible contingency,
Absolutely.
Every step of a trial.
Because they will show up if you don't plan for them. So.
Well, I think that's great insight. I think clerking gave you a great head start, not just academically, but just being comfortable and using judgment in a courtroom is something that you can't substitute that experience
Certainly,
for.
certainly.
We're going to dive into this next segment a little bit more about you coming home and kind of what the future of justice looks like in York County. So thank you all for tuning with us for this episode of Local Justice. We'll be right back after a short break from our sponsors.
As soon as I contacted Elrod Pope, they handled everything. Without Elrod Pope's help, I'd have been paying hospital bills for years to come. Elrod Pope just took the stress and they put it on their table and took it off mine.
Coming to Elrod Pope, I didn't have to worry about anything. Everything was taken care of. It put me in a real calm state because I had someone on my side. I knew that I was in the right hands. It felt great.
At Palmetto Pride, we know we have a choice. The choice for a cleaner South Carolina. And it's an easy one at that. Don't litter. No grand gestures or heroic efforts here, but the outcome still has monumental impacts. When it comes to our state, every choice counts and every action matters. From the great outdoors to parks next door, from Main Street to your street. All it takes is a little bit of pride to keep South Carolina beautiful.
When a catastrophe hits, it can be a very stressful time for you. When you have trees on your house, when you have trees on your cars, and you don't know what to do, you call us.
We're not a 1-800 number, we're an 803 number. We've been in business for over 60 years because we take care of our clients. That means taking care of them during claim situations.
We're not 9 to 5, we're 24/7. We're gonna be there when you need us most. Gill Insurance, your local auto owner's agent. Understanding business is how we do business.
When it comes to prescription medications and health needs, Rock Hill residents have been turning to Good Pharmacy for over 50 years.
I've been coming to Good Pharmacy since we came to Rock Hill in 1984, and I would not change pharmacists for anything.
With their knowledgeable staff, you can always trust that your prescription will be filled with complete confidence and care for your health. Good Pharmacy, conveniently located at the corner of Ebenezer Road and Camden Avenue.
Founders Federal Credit Union means banking made for you. The on the go, the pick up and go, and the oh, I want to go. Because at Founders, we give you the financial tools that make every dollar work for you. For the little things to the big things. For your future and your peace of mind. We'll always stay grounded in our roots, but reaching beyond what you'd expect is where we'll always go. Find out what our members already know and enjoy a new way to bank. Relax, you're with Founders.
Hi, I'm John Warden with Champion Services. If you're considering remodeling or making repairs to your home due to storm damage, here's a few things to ponder. A lot of folks have come in town promising a lot of things about we've been here for a long period of time, only to be found faults. Choosing the right contractor is extremely important. Here at Champion Services, our goal is one thing, it's customer satisfaction. And that's just not a sentence, that's a fact. Let me say it's been a joy to serve you for over 30 years. This message is brought to you by Champion Services and CN2.
Welcome back to Local Justice. I'm Ben Leader with Elrod Pope Law Firm, and I'm here with Preston Pope today, who is the newest attorney at Elrod Pope, and we're so happy to have Preston at the firm and also on the show today. So, Preston, thanks for joining us, and thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
You know, when you finished clerking, which is a tremendous opportunity, as we've talked about, to anybody out there considering law school, I would tell every one of you to consider pursuing a clerkship after law school. It's just a no-brainer in my opinion. But you know, after completing that clerkship, you had plenty of options. You know, I joke around and say a lot that, you know, Elrod Pope would be very lucky to have you, even if your name was Preston Smith, and I truly mean that. And you excelled in school, you excelled in law school, and during the clerkship, and I think you had plenty of options ahead of you, whether it was to go work for maybe a solicitor's office or a public defender's office or even a large law firm in a much bigger city. But you chose to come home and to stay home and to come work at Elrod Pope here in Rock Hill. Tell us a little bit about that decision and what led you to that path.
So my wife Bailey and I always knew that family and community meant a lot to us. You know, we lived in Columbia for, I think school was 7 years. You know, and I've lived in other parts of the United States just through my military training. And no matter where I was or how long I was there, I always felt that Rock Hill and York County was home. And being able to help your community, to me, just means more. And I've always seen York County as my community, and I've always just wanted to come back and be able to make my community a better place.
That's great, and we're so happy to have you back. And you know, we followed a lot of similar paths, whether it's law school. You and I both worked at the law firm, I think, when we were in high school, as well as you know, assistants at the front desk. And you've been around the firm for a long time. You've seen it change. You've seen it grow. You've seen the practice of law change a lot over the last decade or so. And I found myself in the same shoes. I was wrapping up a clerkship, trying to figure out what direction to go. And you know, part of me wanted to go, you know, prove myself somewhere else and start from scratch at the bottom of a firm, versus join the firm my dad was at. But I ultimately decided, you know, where I was at in life, my dad's age, you know, I may not have another opportunity to get to work alongside him and to learn the practice of law from him. And, you know, as I look back now, I got to spend 10 years of my career, you know, learning from him. And it was hands down the biggest blessing of my career. And, you know, I wouldn't change anything, you know, in the world for that now. And so, especially given his, you know, passing recently. So it means the world to have had that time. And had I chosen some other city or some other opportunity, you know, that's time I probably wouldn't have been able to get back. And so what does it mean, you know, in addition to serving the community, to actually get to share, you know, the same office in a building with your dad and be able to see him every day and learn from him and work with him?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I think that he was obviously the largest part in shaping my career choice. Just seeing the way that he handles himself, not only as an attorney, but as a person, was always inspirational to me. And that played it was another key variable in my decision to move back to York County. You know, it's great. Now that I'm back, I feel like he is more excited about me being there than maybe even I am, and I'm super excited to be there. But you know, it's a fantastic experience, and I'm just glad that I'm able to work alongside him.
It's a really special thing about the practice of law that you see a lot of second-generation attorneys, you know, getting to work with their parents, and that's not something you see in a lot of lines of work, and it's just really special. So I'm happy for you, and I can attest that your dad's probably as happy as anybody in the community to have you here with our firm. You know, you are following a long line of service in your family, your grandfather, your dad, but you're also carving your own path along the way. And the practice of law is rapidly changing as we know it. You know, the practice that my dad and your dad grew up in is not what it is today, between AI and technology and national law firms. Things are rapidly changing. When you look back 10, 20 years from now, what do you hope that, people will say about you when they look at the type of lawyer you were?
I truly would be happy if I was able to carry on my dad's legacy in the sense that, I truly believe that his interest was in the interest of the community. And I want them to look at me and know that I was not self-serving in any of the things that I did, but instead was there to help people. And that's truly what I want to do.
And one of the things, I appreciate about your dad so much is that he never wants to be the most important person in the room. And we always joke, if there's a big table at an event or something, I can never find Tommy, and it's because he's always sitting at, what he calls the kids' table, away from the most popular people in the room, and really trying to get to know the everyday people that are out there. And I know you share a lot of those traits, and so I'm excited to see.
That side of him is really inspiring, and since I was young, I've really appreciated that about him, and I'd like to think that I'm trying to follow in his footsteps in that sense.
And one other thing I know that you're going to follow in his footsteps is the love for the courtroom. He obviously made the start of his career off of being a prosecutor and being involved in some high-profile cases, and we've got big plans for you to continue that love for the courtroom and moving Elrod Pope forward. Can you just touch on kind of how the clerkship played into your love for court?
Sure. Prior to my clerkship, I'm not really sure how much real court experience that you have as an attorney, other than just going to hearings as you're required. Being able to see the courtroom, hold all of these different types of proceedings whenever you're clerking for a judge. I think that's truly what sparked my passion for the courtroom. You just get to see everything from a plea hearing to a murder trial, and I think the dynamic nature of court is what is so intriguing.
That's great. Well, Preston, it's been a real privilege to have you on the show. It's a real privilege to have you at the firm, and what you represent, and what I hope our viewers are able to see is continuity. The idea that justice in York County isn't just in good hands right now, but it's in good hands for many decades to come. And as our firm continues to grow, what strengthens us the most is not just our years of experience, but it's the next generation, stepping into taking the changing of the guard and taking the firm to the next level and continuing to be present in the community and serve the community. And we're proud of you. We're excited for you. I know our viewers are going to get to see a lot more of you over the next few decades. And to our audience, thank you again for tuning in to this episode of Local Justice with Preston Pope. Hope everyone stays safe out there. I'm Ben Leader, and we'll see you next time.
As soon as I contacted Elrod Pope, they handled everything. Without Elrod Pope's help, I'd have been paying hospital bills for years to come. Elrod Pope just took the stress and they put it on their table and took it off mine.
Coming to Elrod Pope, I didn't have to worry about anything. Everything was taken care of. It put me in a real calm state because I had someone on my side. I knew that I was in the right hands. It felt great.
Kidney disease is becoming more and more prevalent, especially with diabetes and hypertension. My training with kidney disease helps me to talk to patients and guide them through the steps that they can take, the changes that they can make into their lifestyles. And we have a dedicated team of providers, including dietitians and pharmacists that we work with to educate patients towards achieving that.
We know the type. You like to start early, finish late, make lemon squares, and make payments to the college fund from anywhere in the house. We know you rely on Comporium for the things you rely on most, like a view of the backyard. That's just a bunny, and hundreds of channels to watch, whenever you want. So you may think of us as just your internet company, but we're more like the I didn't know they could do all that company. Comporium, always ready.
From my first watch I purchased as a teenager, which still runs today, to the diamond ring I surprised my wife with, which she still talks about today. A gift from Norman Hagee is as good as it gets. Whether it's elegant timepieces by Bulova, Caravel, and Bel Air,
or ornamental ironwork-inspired Southern Gates collection, or dazzling fine jewelry. A gift from Hagee is backed by over 60 years of family-owned and operated experience. Norman Hagee Jewelers, for gifts as good as it gets.